So let's talk about Elon Musk. We're going to look at how one man's wild dream of colonizing Mars and completely changing how we use energy almost ended in total, spectacular failure. This is the story of his all-or-nothing gamble, a tale of just insane ambition, catastrophic failure, and honestly, one of the most dramatic comebacks you'll ever hear about.
You know, Elon Musk brings up this quote all the time, and it's really the key to how he sees the world. His goals were never just about building cool companies. It was always about pushing all of us, humanity, off our home planet and out into the stars.
So he had these two massive pillars, right? SpaceX, to make humanity a multiplanetary species, and Tesla, to get the world onto sustainable energy fast. And he bet literally everything he had on these two ideas that, let's be honest, sounded pretty much impossible at the time.
And for a while there, it looked like both of those dreams were going to die, taking every penny he had with him. To really get how close he came to losing it all, we've got to go back to the beginning.
So, our story kicks off not with some fancy business plan, but with a mission to Mars. An idea born from a simple question and a discovery that kind of shocked him.
So picture this. After making his first huge pile of cash, Musk goes to NASA's website. He's looking for their timeline, their plan for sending people to Mars. And he found nothing. No plan, no schedule, zip. And that's when he realized if humanity was going to have this inspiring future in space, he'd have to be the one to kickstart it. But to do that, he needed money, a lot of it. And this is where his journey as a tech entrepreneur really gets going, building up the cash he'd need for his crazy space and energy ideas. Now, this was not some overnight success. His first company, Zip2, was the classic startup grind. I mean, he and his brother were literally living in the office. After they sold it for over $300 million, did he take a break? Nope. He rolled that money straight into his next idea, an online bank called X.com, which, eventually turned into the PayPal we all know today. So when PayPal was sold, Musk, who's just 30 years old, walked away with a personal fortune of $180 million. Now, most of us would probably buy an island and call it a day, but Musk, he decided to risk every single penny of it.
And this brings us to 2008. The whole world economy is in a nosedive, and both of Musk's new companies, SpaceX and Tesla, are just burning through cash and heading straight for the wall.
His dream of a private rocket company was, not going well. Back in 2006, the very first Falcon 1 launch ended in a giant fireball just seconds after it took off. And why? A corroded nut on a fuel line. A single nut.
A year later, they try again. Launch number 2 also fails. This time, the rocket just spun out of control because fuel was sloshing around in the tanks. He was just watching his personal fortune turn into wreckage over and over again.
Then came the third launch in August of 2008, and it failed too. This time, the first stage actually bumped into the second stage after they separated. So, 3 launches, 3 spectacular failures. He'd sunk over $100 million of his own money into SpaceX and had just enough cash left for one final try. If that one failed, the company was done. So just imagine this impossible situation. At the exact same moment that SpaceX is on its last prayer, Tesla is also bleeding money. The original Roadster was a total production nightmare. Costs ballooned from a planned $60,000 a car to over $200,000 just to build one. The company had, and this is his quote, single-digit weeks of cash left. Both of his dreams were collapsing at the exact same time.
Musk said this was the hardest choice of his life. He talked about how starting a company is like having a child, and he was being forced to decide which one of his children to let starve. He couldn't do it. He split what little money he had left between them, knowing full well it might not be enough to save either one.
And then, right at the darkest possible moment, when it all seemed over, everything changed.
On September 28, 2008, against all the odds, the fourth launch of the Falcon 1, it worked. They made a simple change, just waiting a little longer before separating the stages, and it avoided the collision from the last time. It became the first privately funded liquid-fueled rocket to ever reach orbit. SpaceX was alive.
And that one single successful launch changed absolutely everything. Just a few months later, NASA awarded SpaceX a massive $1.6 billion contract to resupply the International Space Station. Just like that, the company was saved.
And then came the second miracle. Just as Tesla was about to go bankrupt, I'm talking 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, the very last hour of the last possible day. The investors came through. The funding round closed and Tesla was saved, right on the brink of death.
So how in the world did he survive all of that? I mean, that kind of pressure would break most people. Well, it comes down to his core philosophy, a belief in just relentless work and an almost unbelievable tolerance for pain. Musk's philosophy is, well, it's intense. He really believes in working 80 to 100-hour weeks, thinking you can get done in 4 months what takes other people a year. He believes that if a goal is important enough, you just go for it, even when you're terrified and the odds are totally stacked against you. And the biggest thing of all, you never, ever give up.
This quote right here, it just perfectly captures how he sees entrepreneurship. It's not glamorous. It's a world of hurt. He described the years from 2017 to 2019 when they were ramping up Model 3 production as 3 years of hell. He literally slept on the factory floor just so his team could see he was suffering even more than they were.
And you know, this relentless drive, it eventually proved all the critics wrong. During the 2012 presidential debates, Tesla was famously called a loser for taking a government loan. Well, less than a year later, the company paid back that entire loan 9 years ahead of schedule, with interest, actually making the U.S. taxpayer a profit of over $20 million.
And that really gets to the heart of it all. For Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, all these ventures, they aren't just businesses. He actually calls them philanthropy, a love of humanity. They're his attempts to solve what he sees as our biggest problems and build a future that makes you, glad to wake up in the morning.
So in the end, Musk's story kind of forces you to ask, is this level of extreme risk and personal sacrifice the real price you have to pay for radical innovation? It's an incredible story about betting everything on an idea, staring right into the abyss, and somehow coming out on the other side. Thanks for watching.